Hello, and welcome to the Project Catalyst podcast and vodcast series with me, Kim Clyden. Diversification of farming income continues to be adopted as a strategy to spread financial risk and ensure the sustainability of generational businesses. In February this year, 2023, at the annual Catalyst Forum in Cairns, we arranged a day of knowledge sharing and inspiration for our growers. Piling 90 people onto buses, we headed out to explore 2 farms on the Tablelands and visit the FNQ Food Incubator. It proved to be one of the most popular tours of the day. Well, this month I heard on the grapevine that a couple of our sugarcane growers have made contact with Lara Wilde, CEO of the FNQ Food Incubator in Cairns. In fact, one grower, whose name rhymes with May, has bottled a batch of his secret sugar product for a recent event and secured an order. Having the opportunity to tour the facility left me with many questions. So I took 20 minutes with Lara to discover what they offer to people with a concept and no idea where to start.
I have a long history in economic development and working with small businesses and mentoring them and so on. And so I was actually working out of this office space originally, doing some business mentoring with the NICE program and with Ignite FNQ. And then about a year after I had moved on to a new role, Mick James rang me up and said, "Lara, do you think you could come and help me? We have a government grant and I need to acquit it and I need some reporting done." So I came in purely on a contract part-time basis just to help out with administration and reporting, and fell in love not only with the business itself. Mick and Mary James are just 2 of the most beautiful human beings on the planet, and what they do for the food industry, but also our clients. Like when you start talking to people who this is their family recipe, their grandmother's way of showing love was this particular relish or this particular sauce, and then they want to share that with the world. And so being able to work with those small businesses where you know these guys are not going to change the economy in a massive way, but their passion for what they do and their commitment to producing a quality product, I fell in love with the job.
Mick was talking a lot about the different types of people and products that are produced through here. But how important is it to have a space like this for those small batch people?
To be cooking at home is one thing, and yeah, your kids still eat it, or your mum says it's great. And then you might cook a bit more and you take it to the markets and you get the same tried and true people every week who want to come in and buy your jar of lemon butter. That's fantastic. But then when you look at Coles or Woolworths, or if you look at Aldi, or you start thinking, I want to get it on the shelves of my local IGA or deli, that's a big step, because you need to know a lot of things. I compare the FNQ Food Incubator to being like a gym. You don't go to the gym because you can't figure out how to do a sit-up at home. You go to the gym because, one, you're surrounded by other people doing sit-ups, and they will tell you what you don't know. But secondly, you'll have access to all of that equipment that you wouldn't purchase at home. So rather than investing in a huge commercial kitchen to turn out great quantities so your business can grow, here you can come in, use it by the hour, and just see if it's for you. Because a lot of people, they think, that sounds exciting, but then when the novelty of cooking sauce 12 hours a day, 5 days a week wears off, you need that support network around you. And I think that's the real value of the incubator.
You just mentioned that people can come in and use the space by the hour, but how many different ways can people get involved with the incubator?
Oh, it's huge. And so behind me here, we have a huge range of products. Some of them were manufactured here, some were simply mentored here, and some we just championed because we want them to be a part of our industry. And so with the incubator, we try and create a community. We have people who say, we've got a family reunion coming up, we want 400 jars of grandma's sauce so that everyone can take one home and remember her. Fantastic, we'll do everything, you just send us a recipe. And then we have people who say, I'm a farmer and I've got too many papaya, what can I do with all these papaya? And we'll work with them on a jam recipe and creating a commercial plan so they've got a new income stream for their farm. We have got people who just want to use the kitchen to prep for a catering gig. We have got school tours coming through. We've got young people who are experimenting. We've got people who are just sitting there saying, I really, really like this product, but it's got too much sugar. How can I create another version of it? So it's everywhere in between, just like a gym where you've got people who just come to hang out for the vending machine, and then you've got people who are going for a world title.
Project Catalyst girls just came through here today. What was the most common question they had about the facility?
They were really, really interested to see what kind of products were coming out that they could be involved with. Now, sugar is one of our most used ingredients. When it comes to jams and sauces, when it comes to all your relishes and chutneys, and particularly drinks, we make a lot of kombuchas and iced teas and ginger beers here. They all need sugar. We've worked with MSF sugar in the past, and so I think for such an established industry like the sugar industry, it can be really easy to get in, this is what we do and how we do it. And when something like Project Catalyst happens and you think, here's innovation, what else can we do to think outside the box? That's really exciting. And so they were looking for opportunities. How can they not only add to their own business and look at new value add and innovative streams, but how can they also collaborate with other food manufacturers to provide their sugar or to improve their product to those manufacturers themselves?
What process would they follow if they wanted to actually pursue an idea they might have?
We try to never compare apples with apples here, which seems weird to say in a food business, but every business is completely unique. Our first step is get on the website, drop us an inquiry when people want to start going down that food manufacturing line. So 1, drop us an inquiry. 2, we will ring you and we'll have a chat. Then we'll get you in and we'll sit on these chairs here and we'll have a conversation about what's your dream. Are you simply looking to use up some waste farm produce? Are you looking to create a legacy? Are you looking to create a niche in the market that you've seen? And then we'll take you through all of the steps. Now, some people already have a recipe and a product developed, and so they don't need as much of that scientific background. We'll go through shelf life testing. We'll go through commercial scalability. Just because your recipe makes 1 litre of sauce really well doesn't mean that I can multiply all the ingredients by 100 and get 100 litres of sauce. So we actually get the food scientists and the food technologists involved with how do we develop that recipe to a commercial scale? How do we make sure it's shelf stable? But then also, what's the best packaging and marketing options for you?
We had Rob Watkins at our dinner last night as a guest speaker. I see some of his products on your shelf here. What sort of work do you do with Rob and his banana product?
Rob and Krista, they're one of those products that we champion madly. Now, we here at the FNQ Food Incubator, we are a vegan facility. So we specialise in your sauces, your jams, your chutneys and in your wet products, but we specialise in products that don't have meat or dairy or eggs. Now, when people come in and they want to dehydrate and make powders and flours out of great quantities, we definitely refer them through to Rob and Krista Watkins. If we have people that want to make ice cream, then we refer them through to one of the local ice cream manufacturing. If we have people who want to make carbonated beverages, we have a canning facility we can connect them with. So while we don't do everything here, we know everyone that does, and again, it's about creating that community.
There's a lot of products on the shelves behind you. How many businesses would you say you represent?
We've worked with approximately 290 odd businesses to date. Now, some of those have been people who've just come in and said, I really, really want to make jerky. And we've said, that's fantastic. Let's do the figures. Let's look at your market. Let's look at your labelling. And now let's connect you with someone who can assist you with commercially manufacturing that jerky. Others have come in, and one of my favourite success stories that's come through here is Scoo-Brew Kombucha, who came in here, they started making their kombucha. Amanda Hargraves is an absolute machine of a lady. She is amazing what she turns out, and they've now outgrown us. We see that we're very much a stepping stone. We are going from the home kitchen to where your business is established enough and has that return on investment for you to invest in your own facility. So she has gone on to do that, and that's fantastic to see.
It is. I noticed there's a variety of products right throughout, so everything from sauces to jams to chutneys. But how can you actually add value from the point of, multiplying their business and getting them to that next scalable level?
So we do a lot of business mentoring, and food business is a specialty in itself. You can't compare growing a food business with, say, growing a pet grooming business. It's very different because you have shelf life, you have different insurances, you have batch numbers, you have all of that packaging to take into consideration. And of course, then you've got to take in the latest diet trends. And are people now carb-free or sugar-free or whatever it is this week? So if we talk about Ipswich Council, did this amazing project where they said, if you're out there and you're in our gardens and parks and you can find something to make food with, make it, enter it in the competition. So one of the organisations we work with is Fig Jam. Now, Fig Jam & Co. is a father and son team. They're based in Ipswich. We have clients from all over Australia. Now, Jacob and his dad entered the competition, and they did it with pig face, which most people think of as a weed in their garden. It's a succulent, and they made a pig face mustard pickle. delicious. How do they spell delicious? So they had an Indigenous catering company. Now when COVID hit, their catering gigs dried up. And so they started taking the relishes and the pickles and the sambals and so on that they'd done with their catering company and putting it into jars. So we work very closely with them with the Native Food Development Program through the Department of Ag. But this is a classic example of what else can we be doing? Now, one of the challenges they faced is if you try and put purslane, this one's a purslane relish, on your nutrition panel and you look it up in the ingredients register, it's not listed as a food. So a lot of the native ingredients out there we have yet to explore because they're not even recognised as a food, even though Aboriginal people have been using them for centuries. Another example is nut allergies is a huge thing. If you have a nut allergy, you're never going to get the joy of a satay sauce. There's a peanut butter fruit. Now, is peanut butter fruit going to give us the same satay sauce but without the nut allergy? We have yet to explore all of the products that are coming out of this region. So one of the challenges we have in the Indigenous food sector is what is an Indigenous food? So when we talk about Indigenous food, and we do a lot of consultation with Indigenous rangers and different Aboriginal communities and definitely Indigenous food manufacturers. So this is one of the ones that we're working with. They're based on the Sunshine Coast, Beech Tree Distilling. Now when I say Indigenous food, most people will tell me it has native ingredients. But then that has absolutely nothing to do with Aboriginal people. Macadamia nuts are a native ingredient, but if I talk to Indigenous groups, they will tell me that no, that's not a First Nations food purely because it's been commercially farmed. It must be wild harvest. Others will tell me it must be grown on Aboriginal-owned land. So I propose the situation of if I grow pumpkins on Aboriginal-owned land, if I now got Indigenous pumpkin soup, and they'll tell me no, it must be cooked by Aboriginal people. Devil's advocate. Then if I have Aboriginal people grow it on their land and then cook it, I have Indigenous pumpkin soup, and they'll tell me no, must have native ingredients. So if I put 3 wattle seeds on top, have I now got an Indigenous pumpkin soup? So these are the questions we're going through. In the same way that we have a Made in Australia logo, we have an organic logo or a vegan, I want to have an Indigenous food logo out there so that you can actually see how it traces back to Aboriginal people and how native ingredients have been used. No one's documenting that at the moment. I think it's a huge opportunity. As an Australian, even though I'm not Indigenous, I want to be proud of my country's food and my country's beverages and where it comes from. So we're working with a lot of these products now on what makes it Indigenous. How do we document that? If we start commercially growing these ingredients, how do we do that and how do we make sure that we've got the consistency of supply? We do a lot of work with organisations, Aboriginal businesses that are working with green ants. So we've got a green ant sweet chilli sauce that we work with. There's a green ant gin. Where do I get a commercial supply of green ants from? I can't keep relying on ergon knocking down a tree and I'll get some next week. So if we ever want those sorts of products to become mainstream in Woolworths and Coles and so on, we need to start looking at how we commercially farm those native ingredients.
How do you assist people in other products, I suppose, overcome the challenges in, because there's a lot of products here that are very similar to the products that are marketed commercially?
Yeah. So one of our clients that came in, Stephen, he has Bing's peppers. Now, he grows a lot of different chilies, like 600 different varieties, which I thought there were 6 varieties. Now, this is his grandmother's Worcestershire sauce recipe, and it's something that he wanted to share with the world. His grandmother always made it. He was very passionate about it. This is what he looked like when he first came to work with us here at the incubator. You can see there's no nutrition panel. He doesn't have a barcode. He doesn't have a batch number. He doesn't have a lot of the things that we take for granted. But have you ever looked at a food label and thought, yes, that's a must, that's not what's necessary? So we worked with him, and now this is what his product looks like.
Wow.
So you can see the difference in the bottle. You can also see that now we have all of that information on there. This is a bottle that can go to a major supermarket or export overseas. This is a bottle I'm going to buy at the markets.
There's so many ideas, and some of our growers have actually mentioned they've been making their own products from their own sugarcane at home.
Yes.
How commercially viable is sugar as a product in various things, but on its own, like syrups, for instance?
So we have quite a few syrup companies coming through. Beech Tree Distilling that we talked about, they're actually working on a range of non-alcoholic vodkas and gins. So that's a really, really fancy cordial. How do we then work that in with the sugar industry? We've done work in the past with MSF Sugar around how they can commercialise and create new products. It's not actually a new product, it's still the same sugar, but how they market that and package it differently. So we've worked with them. We've also worked with a number of syrup companies. The big thing we're hearing from syrup and cordial at the moment is they want syrups and cordial with actual fruit in them. So trying to combine that sugar supplier with someone with pineapples or mangoes or whatever other flavour you want to put in there. We've also seen a big expanse in the syrup industry to embrace those native ingredients. So Solano syrups that we work with in Townsville, they now have a Davidson plum syrup and they have a finger lime syrup, and they're using more of those native ingredients, which is good to see.
What would you say to someone who's sitting out there listening or watching this, thinking about, I've always wanted to do something, but they haven't actually thought that they could achieve it?
The thing about food manufacturing is you don't have to be a giant. You can go and play in your own little puddle. So if you have a real passion for a particular food and you want assistance to make it commercial, so it pays its own way at the very least, and so that it's produced in a way that's safe for the consumer and safe for you as an investor, then please come and have a chat to us. It costs nothing to sit down on the couches here and just say, I've got this mission for olive flavoured ice cream and that's going to be my thing. We can definitely work with you, and we can work through what's viable financially, but also what's going to work as a product.
Is that Kalamata or one of the greens would you think would work better?
I was a policeman years ago and he was convinced, I said, if you can eat 4 litres of that before I eat 4 litres of chocolate, we'll have a chat about business. But people come in with all sorts of weird ideas.
Nothing's too far-fetched, obviously.
No. Look, I've been doing small business mentoring for 20-something years. And when I first started, I knew everything, as everyone does when they first start something. And I remember our clients would come in with their business and idea, and I'd sit there and go, like, that'll ever work. And then 5 years later, I'd see it as a huge success. And I think, I will never ever tell someone their business idea doesn't work. I just don't see the vision. But I'll give them all of the tools to get there. While we're very, very passionate about seeing people take their food business through from start to finish, we're also very passionate about the next generation of food manufacturers. We do a lot of work with young people. We do a lot of work with schools. We do a lot of hackathons because we have so much to learn from the next generation. So we've got some young food entrepreneurs coming in and we love mentoring them, but not only looking after them from a business point of view, also connecting them to the community and the network around them. So we've had the likes of Angus Copeland Waters, who's done amazing things with his sesame snaps and his caramel popcorn and his crock candy. We've got some more young people starting up on the Tablelands with dried bananas at the moment. We bring a lot of school tours in and we teach them how to make tomato sauce, but then also how to sell it. We love picking their brains. So we will give them a fruit like an avocado and say, this many tons of avocado are thrown out in Australia each year. What else can we do with an avocado? And they come up with some brilliant ideas. We've gone through avocado leather, avocado oil. We've gone through freeze-dried avocado mousse, ice cream, jerky, chips. So if there's any young people out there who'd like to get started in food manufacturing, whether you're making 10 bottles a week to sell at the markets, or whether you want to collaborate with a co-packer and take it further, we love working with young people and seeing the next idea they have for our dinner table.
You've been listening to the Project Catalyst podcast and vodcast series with me, Kim Clyden, talking to Lara Wilde, CEO of FNQ Food Incubator in Cairns. Connect with us on our website and social media channels. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel for notifications of new content and more like this. You won't miss an episode. Project Catalyst is funded by the partnership between the Australian Government's Reef Trust and the Great Barrier Reef Foundation, and the Coca-Cola Foundation with support from WWF Australia.